can attack. Here is Scott Donie.
Scott is Patrick's teammate, and these two compete every day together on the platform at the International Swimming Hall of Fame. They're great friends. Scott has an inward 2.5 pike coming up. It's really somewhat of a simple dive. Most of these men are doing inward 3.5. Scott has chosen to do a lower DD, which is a 2.8 here. He needs to do this for 9s to remain in the contest. Inward 3.5, but he doesn't do it well. He knows he can do the inward 2.5 for 8.5s and 9s. And that's why his coach, Ron O'Brien, is having him do this dive. You know, you get in competition and the bottom line is getting the scores when it counts. That's why Scott Donie does inward 2.5 pike.
With 6 rounds complete. 4 to go. Scoggin in first place, Evans in second, Donie, Jeffrey, Bertram, Morris. We'll be back. And Scott Donie, he's always fun to talk with. He has confidence. I would say he has an overload of confidence. But that's good. His nickname might even be Hollywood. I'm not sure of that. But he is.
And this dive can put Scott Donie right in the thick of things. This is reverse 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. It is the hardest dive being done by men in this competition. It is 3.4. He nailed this in the preliminaries yesterday.
And Scott is only 17.5 points out of second place. When he was 10 years old, he wrote a story about going to the Olympic Games.
And in that story, he predicted that in 1988, he would go to the Olympic Games, and if not, in 1992, he would go to the Olympic Games. And here we are.
He's writing his own script.
He is writing his own script. The key point for Scott on this dive is his takeoff. Right as he comes off the platform, he needs to be up and right into his tuck position to get this thing moving. Just a smidge close to the platform, and I think maybe he thought that too. Let's watch. As he comes up, he's got a very strong takeoff, but look where he is in relation to the platform right here. As he comes around, he has to hold on and kick up because he wasn't spinning real fast on the bottom. He kicks up to the sky, looks back, right in the water. It was just a little bit slow.
There has been a change in the standings. Scott Donie is now in second place. Pat Evans is in third. Matt Scoggin continues to lead. Remember, only the top 2 make the Olympic team. Right, here's the situation with 3 dives to go. Scoggin, Donie, Evans.
Scott is taking the elevator in this competition. The other side of this, by not taking the stairs, by taking the elevator, the idea is that you keep your legs fresh. You don't wear them down by climbing those endless stairs. And in competition, especially this competition, especially for this man, he wants every ounce of jump that he can get out of those legs.
Interesting fundraiser for this young man. Wilchester Elementary School, the Wildcats. They raised $1,500 to help him in his Olympic quest.
His mother works in an elementary school in Houston. I think she came up with the idea. The kids, of course, loved it. He went to give a speech at the school, and it was just a great Olympic thing to do.
It's down to 3 with 2 spots remaining. And here is Scott Donie.
And Scott is going to fight for every point in these last 3 dives. He's got a front 3.5 in the pike position here.
Just over 3 points separate Donie and Evans for the second spot.
The heat is on in Indianapolis. Pat stellar things to keep up with Scott Donie. That was an awesome dive. He is right on the end of the platform on this takeoff. All he has to do is throw his arms down and his hips up, and the rest is history. It comes right around. Look at this entry. Scott's known for it. There's no water coming up.
9s and 9.5 and an 8, a total of 81 for Scott Donie. Scott Donie now comfortably in second place. The margin between second and third is now over 48 points. So Donie has taken command of second. Scoggin leads. We'll be back. Yes, Olympic diving trials right now after 8 rounds, 2 rounds to go. Matt Scoggin, Scott Donie are running 1, 2, and of course the top 2 of the 12 finalists will make the Olympic team and go to Barcelona. Scott Donie, he is relaxing playing Nintendo golf. Now, he may be able to beat the diving, but he'll never beat the game of golf, I can tell you that.
This man just can't seem to get enough competition in his life.
Speaking of that, a couple of days ago, we asked him about what was his strength in diving.
My ability to compete is my strongest point. I've been competing diving meets since I was very young, and I've always been tough in meets. And that's what separates the great diver from the super elite diver, which is where I am right now.
We mentioned earlier that he has confidence, and there's no question about that. He exudes confidence.
Scott loves the camera, too. He just loves to perform for this crowd. I've seen him actually fail dives and get out and bow to the audience. And I've seen him nail dives and get out and bow. And I think, you know, he, well, probably more than anyone else, absolutely loves to compete. He just loves to have fun and get up there and show his stuff and all of his hard work. And he is certainly doing it here today. He's 2 dives away.
And meanwhile, Pat Evans.
At this point, Charlie, you know what's going on in your heart. You may not, as a competitor, watch the scoreboard, but in your heart, you know if you're in the hunt or if you've fallen off the trail. And Scott Donie,
he knows he's in the hunt, right in the middle of it.
He knows he's in a hunt. He's going to be doing the back 3.5 tuck. Yesterday in the prelims, he was very strong on this dive. The way he is, I expect him to hit it. In the crowd are loving this. It was a little bit slow on the takeoff. I've seen Scott do this dive better, but under the circumstances, I'm sure he'll be happy with the scores that he receives. As you see, he's just a little bit short, but Scott has that unique ability of putting his hands on the water and seemingly parting the waters below.
7.5, 6, 7.5, 6.5. There's his dad, Ralph, his mom, Judy. She is in and out, pacing nervously. The story is between Scott Donie,
you know,
Pat Evans for second.
Many people coming into this competition, many coaches, people in the crowd.
Standings, the difference between second and third, 39.5 points. And we'll be back to find out who will make the Olympic team in just a moment.
Everybody has their own special hiding place between dives. A place to get away from the sounds of the crowd and the other divers' scores. A place to focus on the next dive and get psyched up. Scott Donie's routine is pretty unique. Between every dive, he comes here to the electrical room where it's warm to recharge.
Let's peek inside.
And there's Scott. You know, Scott is a live wire in this competition. He is making his move, and he is doing it fast.
And now the standings. After 9 rounds of 10, 1 dive remaining. Matt Scoggin, Scott Donie, Pat Evans again for the Olympic team. Only the top 2 will make the team. Scott Donie has gotten stronger over the last 3 dives.
I think Scott thrives on the attention, and I think he thrives on the challenge of it all. He is really an outgoing diver, very friendly guy, but certainly outgoing and certainly very confident coming into this competition.
And don't overlook Matt. A disappointment.
It's all come down
For Patrick Jeffrey, but for Scott Donie. Now, this is the dive to cinch the Olympic berth. He is in second.
This is Scott Donie's moment. The same dive we just saw Patrick Jeffrey do, back 1.5 to 3.5 twists. Here it is.
Is an Olympian.
And I think he knows it.
And the scores, a total of 84-48. That will be insurmountable.
His teammate Patrick Jeffrey congratulating him, one Olympian to another.
His dad's reaction, he knows it, yes.
They've waited a long time for Scott Donie to get on this Olympic team. Never give up until the whole thing is over. It's official. Scott Donie is now on the 1992 U.S. Olympic team going to Barcelona.
And his teammate steps out on the platform. And so the celebration is underway for Scott Donie and for Matt Scoggin.
Matt is hugging his wife, Becca Culver, there. They've been sweethearts since elementary school.
Thanks.
As he did not make the team in the last two Olympic Games, finishing 14th and 5th in the trials. Now he finishes from Scoggin into Scott Donie. They are going to Barcelona.